Welcome. Welcome back. My dog is probably gonna bark because he's a hater. I love him, but he's a hater. Okay. Anyway, I'm so happy you're here, friend. And I am so excited to be starting this new series about money. We're gonna be talking about money. Specifically, my money. Why do I want to share with you my money? Well, for two reasons. One, I don't know anything about your money, so I can't talk about your money. I can only talk about my money. So that's one. Two, hopefully what I'll share in this series about my own financial independence journey will be helpful for you in tackling, managing, thinking about your money, right? So I'm designing this series to be helpful and also to hold myself accountable, but I will only be talking about my money because, it's mine. Before we get into my financial goals for 2024, which is the point of this video, I want to talk a little bit about my money story to date and then recap briefly what happened in 2023, which was my first year of a 7-year journey that I'm on to become financially independent. Okay. I don't even know why Alexa is beeping like that. So disrespectful. Anyway, back to my story. And I'm just going to broad strokes here. But if you have any questions, definitely leave them in the comments. I'm happy to share. So I decided on my 43rd birthday, which was in 2022, December 2022, that I wanted to be financially independent and I wanted to retire early. And I said, okay, I'm going to give myself 7 years. I hadn't even run the numbers yet. But I was like, 7 sounds good. I'll be 50, year of Jubilee, all debt should be canceled. I was just like, yeah, we can do it. We can figure it out. So I set that as a goal. Not really having a plan, just knowing, I had been aware of the financial independence, retire early, FIRE movement for a while, watched a whole lot of videos, read some books, podcasts, etc. So I was familiar enough with the math of it, right? The math is you, and I'll link the study below that people were generating these math numbers from, but it's sort of, you take your living expenses or the living expenses you think you will have when you retire, you multiply that by 25 and you get your financial independence number. And that number is the amount of money you need to have in income producing assets that you can pull from on an annual basis, pull say 4% or 3%, depending on how conservative you want to be, but you get to pull from annually and it will carry you into your retirement, 30 years, whatever. Again, I will put the study below so you can read the details. And I'll put some videos linked below that you can listen to that describe this way more eloquently than I am. My point is I was familiar enough with the FIRE movement to say, yes, I would like to retire myself early. I would like to have some investments that pay for my life. I would like to disconnect from the working culture in the United States of America. So I decided that I was going to get on this journey, give myself 7 years. I figure 7 years is a good amount of time to figure out how I'm going to get up this money, get these assets, figure it out. But when I sat down to do the numbers, it was like, I am going to need a miracle. Literally, God is going to have to add the increase here because it's not a whole lot of money that I need, but I'm just trying to figure out where is it going to come from. Anyway, we'll get to that in a later video. But I set the intention to be retired in 7 years, from my 43rd birthday to my 50th birthday. We just passed year 1, and I made some progress, which I'll tell you about later. But the point of that is just simply I made a decision that I wanted to be financially independent. I'm less concerned about the retired early part. I like the idea of being work optional, being able to work how I want, when I want, etc. Kind of like what I do now. So it's not about, I don't want work to have to be something I have to do. I want it to be something I want to do. So I'm focused really on the financial independence number over the next several years. So a little backstory. I am first generation everything. So I am Black American, did not grow up with any material wealth whatsoever, grew up poor, in Harlem, New York City, got pregnant at 13, became a mother at 14, matriculated to college at 17, graduated from college on time, double concentration, pre-med, African American studies, later went back and got my master's in public health. Same university. Go Lions. I went to Columbia a couple times. Anyway, so all of that happened. Despite having 2 fancy Ivy League degrees, I was quite financially illiterate for most of my adult life. I mean, even when I was making 6 figures in my career, I was still financially illiterate and living check to check. I can say this to your face or to this camera without any shame in me, because I've dealt with my money trauma. I'm dealing with it still, and there's no shame in it for me anymore. I can talk freely about money. I know it's triggering for some people, so when I start talking about numbers, feel free to turn the volume down. Please let the video play. I need these views. But again, take care of yourself. Don't watch this series, especially when I start talking about my numbers, if it's going to be triggering for you. But I can talk about my numbers because I've done a lot of work, both on my own and in therapy, around my money trauma and just getting to my big old age of 44. Or at the time when I started really kind of taking hold of my finances, I was 39, 40, 41, 42, 43. I was probably 37. Still big old age to not know what a brokerage account is. Big old age not knowing why you need to invest in your retirement funds. But yeah, I was just financially illiterate. So you can be well educated and financially illiterate. That speaks a lot to sort of the educational system in the United States, but that's another conversation. Anyway, I've dealt a lot with my money traumas, and here we are. I can talk about money freely. I love talking about money. I love money. Money loves me. Anyway, so that's sort of the background of, I didn't grow up with a lot. We didn't talk about money because we didn't really have any. Had no idea what saving for a rainy day was, because, you know, you grew up in Harlem in the 90s. I mean, and, you know, we just didn't talk about money. I didn't know how to manage credit cards. I got into credit card debt when I was in college. I didn't know why you needed to pay your things on time. I didn't know what a credit score was. I didn't know any of that. And I was literally at an Ivy League institution, reading all kinds of books. Plato, Aristotle. I mean, but, you know, no basic personal finance insight. So anyway, fast forward. After I got my master's in public health, I started my public health career. at the New York City Health Department, and I worked there for 10 years. Worked my behind off. Worked my way all the way up to the tippy tops of my organization. And I got burnt out. And then I quit. Walked away from that nice salary, 6-figure salary, a lot of autonomy in my work, 40 people team, leading a 40-person team, walked away. And I think the saddest part about that whole thing was I walked away with no money or very little money to speak of. I walked away with my job having to pay me for 4 months after I quit, just because I had all this time in the bank. So I got 4 months of paychecks, and I had a small $33,000 pension. Why? Because when I got to my little job, I didn't think I was going to be there for that long. So I was like, no, I'm not going to set up my 401k. I'm going to go, at the time I was going to go to medical school. I was like, no, I'm going to be a doctor. I'm only going to be here for a year, moving on. 10 years later, didn't start paying into the pension until like 2 years before I left. So now I'm like throwing money into this thing. But I walked away with just $33,000 and no backup plan. I'm not recommending that you quit your job. Don't quit your job. Don't quit your job unless you've got something else lined up or a rich spouse. Either of those will work. But I quit my job, cashed out my pension. You should never cash out anything. You should just roll it over to something else. But I didn't understand that. I didn't know anything about rolling over. I know I needed that money. I cashed it out. So I took my little $33,000 and my 4 months of paychecks, and I lived a wonderful life for a year. I was making art. I was like, oh, I'm a full-time artist. This is wonderful. I love this for me. It was beautiful. And then I was like, oh crap, I live in New York City. I don't have a job. At this time, I got $14,000 left in my checking account. And the only reason I had that much left at the end of the year was because I got friends who love me. and one of them hooked me up with to be in a commercial for Jeep. So that was a little bit of money. But then I was like, I gotta go. I only got $14,000 left. So I went to the place that I thought would be a much cheaper city to live in, Atlanta. He's still here. And everything changed when I moved to Atlanta with my little $14,000. But that's another video for another conversation. I say all that to say, I spent most of my adult life being financially illiterate, and that came with a lot of consequences. And one of the biggest consequences is that I got to Atlanta, I think in 2018, February 2018, didn't have a 401k, didn't have any Roth IRA, didn't have any retirement money, didn't even have any emergency fund money, didn't even have any long-term emergency fund money, didn't have nothing. And here I am, 2 Ivy League degrees, 30, I don't know, you do the math. In 2018, I was some age, like 37, I think. And that's where I was. And you would think, I mean, it could be a pretty shameful place to be. But what I learned in my year after I quit my job was that me and my income, 2 separate things. My inherent value as a human is intact. Period. Has nothing to do with what I have in the bank, what I have in retirement, savings, what I own. Like, I learned that very quick, and that gave me a whole lot of peace, and that set me on the journey to be okay with my money, to be content whether I had money or whether I didn't have money. But I also knew, here I was, I gotta get my age right. Here I was, 37, 38, right? 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44. I'm gonna keep counting on my fingers because whatever. I was like 37, unpartnered, unmarried, Because not only did I leave Atlanta because I only had leave New York because I only had $14,000 in my checking account, I also left New York because I was in a dead-end 10-year long relationship that should have ended year one, but that's another story. So I had a broken heart, I had no money, and I said, you know what? It's okay. We will figure it out from here. And that's where I started learning about personal finance, how to manage the small amount that I had, because how you do one thing is how you do everything. So I said, okay, I only have a little bit of money in my account, but I will budget. I will learn about personal finance. I will learn about how to save. I will learn about investing. And every year since then, since being in Atlanta, I've learned different things about my money and how to multiply it. And then I got to 2022, 43, and was like, girl, it's time to sort of level up and figure out what you're gonna do for the second half of your life, because things didn't turn out the way that you had hoped. You are still unpartnered. Jesus help us. Somebody come get me. And that's okay, but you still have to. That's my dog. He barks at anything running on the street. I still have to figure out what the rest of my life is going to look like, and how am I going to take care of myself as I age. And yes, I still desire to be married, but until this man shows up, I have to manage my money and I have to multiply it, because just in the case that he doesn't, I like living indoors and I like eating organic foods. I like nice things, and I'm gonna need to figure out a way to have those things for myself. So that's what I'm doing. That's what this whole journey is about. Figuring out how do we take care of future Krista, and in a way that is in alignment with my values and all the things that I want to have in the second half of my life, right? So I'm on this journey. As far as what I did the first year of my 7-year fire journey, I just set up the containers. There's a lot more about my money story, which I'll talk about in different little videos. But when I started the 7-year journey to fire, I don't have any consumer debt. So no credit cards, no car payments, none of that. All that stuff had gotten cleared up as I was becoming financial literate and learning that, oh, probably should get rid of this little credit card. If you got the money paid off, why are you holding on to it? Get rid of it. Or car notes, like who wants to have a car note? No, pay for the car. So did all that along the way, saved up my emergency fund, saved up my long-term emergency fund. So when I got to last year, 2023, there were a couple things that were already in place, but there were other things that I needed to do better with. So I set up my containers. I made sure that all of the retirement investment accounts that were available to me, I had them, and that I funded them to the max. So I have a SEP IRA because I own my own businesses. So that's what I did after I quit my job, moved to Atlanta. I started a couple businesses. So I have my SEP IRA, I have a Roth IRA, and I have a HSA, a health savings account. So all those things have been set up, maxed out in year one, and paid a significant portion of money on my student loans at the end of 2022, going into 2023. I still have quite a bit of student loans. Predatory lending, let's just put that over there. And all of my student loans are private, so God bless you people who can take advantage of all the wonderful things that the government wants to give you. My loans are not set up that way. I have to pay them. And it's all interest. Why? Because I was financially illiterate and I just kept deferring those loans. Granted, I was not making a lot of money at the time after graduate school, and I was a single mother, blah, 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 but I was still not paying the interest. Had I known that if you couldn't make the monthly payment, just pay the interest because it will compound. It's the worst. Anyway, so I still have my student loans. I'm going to make a dent in them this year. But last year was all about making sure I had the vehicles that were available to me, and that I had done my due diligence to max those things out. And I feel pretty proud of myself. Okay, I still have to make one final payment to my SEP IRA, but I usually do a final payment right before I file my taxes, which I do in March. So I look at my tax bill and then I ask my accountant, hey, what if I sent over this extra payment? As long as it's within the max allowed for the SEP IRA, he'll tell me what it is and then I'll make that final payment. So I'm close to maxing out my SEP. I just need to see what the final thing is going to be based on the rules around your company only being able to pay a certain amount of your W-2 salary. Anyway, and then now we're in 2024. So I'm going to do everything I did in 2023, and because every year you want to do a little bit better, or that's what I'm telling myself. In 2024, I am going to do, and I have my little notes here, I am going to focus on this $92,000 in student loan debt that I have. It's like $92,000 and some change. Now, that's a lot, but it used to be $92,000 plus $45,000. But I paid the $45,000 at the end of this 2022 I think I paid the $45,000 in 2022. Yeah, 2022. And then last year, because I was trying to max out my Roth and my HSA, I was just paying my monthly payments. My monthly payments are on auto pay. So this year I'm focusing on tackling my student loan debt and going after it with everything that I have. And we'll see where we end up at the end of the year. I'll give updates on that as we go through these update fire videos that I'll be making as part of the series. So 2024, do everything that I did in 2023. So max out those 3 accounts and make a dent in the student loan debt. And also what I did last year, I started working on my house. I bought a house 2 years ago. God is good. Got that good old 3.5% interest rate. So you know I'm not going anywhere. I'm not selling my house. I'm keeping it. I will get a renter eventually, but I'm not selling. Unless somebody offers me $1 million and I'm like, yeah, you can have the house. But I started slowly renovating my house so I can increase the value of the house. So I renovated the guest bathroom last fall. We're going to work on my ensuite in March, God willing, and then the kitchen in the summer. And those are the only places in the house that I want to renovate and, increase the value of my house. So I see that as investment money, even though I have to spend money, but I'm spending money so that I can increase the value of my asset, this house, which just by me sitting in it, by the way, has gone up $70,000 in 2.5 years. I don't know. I just wish somebody had told me that having a house sooner. Like, I didn't understand that. I did not understand the power of real estate. But anyway, I'm here now. I try not to get upset with myself for not knowing what I didn't know. But this year is tackling the student debt, continuing with my renovations to my house so I can increase the value of my asset. And my goal is by the end of the year to have my house reappraised so I can think about pulling equity out of the house next year to get into my real estate bag. So real estate bag is coming. I'm going to own some properties because that's the only way I think for me to get to financial independence within 7 years. Real estate investing has to be a part of the plan, period. It's either that or my preference, a rich husband. I would take that too because that works. That works. That works. That works. I would take a rich husband. As soon as he comes, this whole video series is over. It's over. We are done talking about money if a rich husband shows up. Okay? Anyway, in the meantime though, I am my own rich husband. In the meantime. So yeah. 2020, let me recap. See, I could be a little 2024 goals. Continue, do exactly what I did in 2023. Tackle the student loan debt as much as I can. And 3, continue the renovations on my home. Those are my 3 big old money things. And actually there's a 4th one, and this is really important. And I'll close with this. The 4th one is to develop a comprehensive plan for my financial independence. Up until this point, I've been doing things as I learn. And what I'm realizing as I try to accelerate is you really do need to have a plan. And everything may not go according to plan, but you do need to have a comprehensive plan about, okay, what exactly will your retirement look like? Because perhaps the number that I have in mind might be too much or too little. So I may need to recalibrate my actual financial independence number, which I'll tell you about in another video. And I'll show you the math and everything. But I need to develop a comprehensive FIRE plan because I want to make sure that I'm not missing opportunities for getting to FIRE in 7 years. And I want to be clear, just for my own peace, how I'm getting there. Like I have in my mind, yes, have these accounts, load them up, do this, but I want to see the whole thing on paper and not just a spreadsheet here and there. There's some other questions that I feel like I need to sit down and really answer for myself. Like I have no idea where I want to live during retirement. That has implications for the cost of living. I need to get clear on that. Do I want to live by the beach? Do I want to live in the United States of America? Do I want to stay in Atlanta? Do I want to go back to New York? Like I need to get clear on that because it's going to help me figure out what my expenses are going to be, which ultimately impacts my FIRE number. Yeah, so those are my 4 things for 2024. Repeat 2023 with all of my investment maxes and accounts, etc., maxing them out. Tackle my student loan debt, as much of it as possible. Continue renovating my home and investing in that so that the equity can go up. And develop a comprehensive FIRE plan. I have lots of other goals, but those are the financial ones. Okay. And how I'll do all of that stuff, that will be the content for the series that we're going to start with this video. Yay. So tell me, have you heard about FIRE? Tell me in the comments. Just want to know if you're familiar with it. Do you have any questions about it? Are you on the journey? Are you learning anything? I would love to know. And yeah, how are you feeling about your money? That's the question. How are you feeling about your money and your financial literacy? I would love to know. And if there's anything I can do to help, anything I can share about how I've dealt with my own money trauma, I'm happy to share, but just drop your questions, comments in the comment section. Also, love for you to follow along. So like, comment, subscribe.